We've waited and waited, and it finally sounds like good news is imminent about Luca Bogavots.
This is Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, ISAAC SCHADE. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listener watch to get your Tar Heels content today. And I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Download it today. Want to welcome in all the everydayers who are here with us, all the great members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course, our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. So grateful to have all of you with us. Coming up on today's show, we got our good brother, Coach Bill Robinson, head coach of the Milligan University Buffaloes and a 2-decade veteran of Carolina Basketball School. That's Carolina's summer basketball camp. He has also written a great book by the same name, Carolina Basketball School. Excuse me. I unfortunately don't have mine with me today, and but you know it's a good one. If you haven't checked it out before, you need it right now. Here's where we're headed on the show. Sounds like we have impending great news about Luca Bogavots. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, sooner rather than later. We'll get to that. The preseason AP Top 25 poll should drop next Monday. Carolina has been in the top 20 for 19 straight seasons. Will they do so again? And a vast majority of the rest of the basketball schedule is now out in terms of TV schedule and tip times. We'll get to that as well. Coach, I'm in a weird, different surrounding today than everybody's used to. I am on the set of Amazon Fire TV's College Football Kickoff Live that I'm about to host in just a little bit. So that's why the studio background behind me for everyone that's watching on YouTube. Coming up on tomorrow, we're going to have ACC tip-off takeaways with RL Bynum. And a football note, unfortunately, Thad Dixon is going to be out for an extended period of time, and there's all sorts of smoke going on around the program right now, so we'll get to that. Coach, the big news of the day. Earlier on Wednesday, Inside Carolina's Sherelle McMillan reports that Luca Bogavacs' NCAA eligibility is, quote, expected to be finalized very soon, according to multiple sources, end quote. Coach, what's your takeaway?
Oh, it's time. And I think from a coaching perspective, I think they've been planning all along that this was going to happen before the season. They weren't going to have any delays. So I don't think their planning has been a whole lot of different, but we've been waiting. We're the ones that are anxiously awaiting that decision. So sooner the better. Let's get it done with so we can just focus on the season.
That's absolutely correct. And I think we've said it before, but there's so much trepidation amongst the Carolina fan base because of the Tez Walker debacle a couple years ago when they didn't get him cleared before the season started and all of that. Now, as you and I record, it hasn't happened yet. And so we don't know exactly what very soon will mean. But Coach, the sooner the better with this thing, because we're now 3.5 weeks away from the tip-off of the regular season. That's Monday, November 3rd against Central Arkansas. But before that, there is the Cherokee exhibition, which obviously he can compete in. But then there's the exhibition at BYU on Friday, October 24th. And then the Winston-Salem State exhibition at home as well. So, Coach, the sooner we have this news, the better. Because you and I have been doing all these scenarios of, well, if Luka's not cleared either period or early, do you roll with Jonathan Powell? Like, what do you do with that? And so just from a mental standpoint, what would clearing this hurdle mean for both the coaching staff and the team?
Yeah, it's like getting somebody back from an injury. You've been kind of wondering if this guy's not. Of course, he's been in practice too, so even it's a little bit different than that. But
Right.
You have to go in that scenario thinking what happens if he doesn't. So there's got to be times in practice where you put a lineup together without him, or you change things up a little bit to just in case something does happen. You got to be prepared for everything. But we've talked about this some, and Hubert and I have talked about this some. Every year's different. And every day's different, every practice is different, and you've got to be ready for just about anything. Talked about it in my class today, anticipating and dealing with issues in your life, in your program that you're just not ready for. And you've got to always be looking to see if this, then that with your program. And they've been going through all those scenarios. They know what's going to happen. And I'll be honest, the way Jonathan Powell's played, I'm not sure you don't start him anyway. and just bring Luke off the bench and do it. And I know that sounds crazy to some people, but he's so talented. You can use him in a lot of different ways. So I don't want to see them locked in on five. Just these are our five
Sure,
starters. I would
sure.
like to see them be able to mix up some things and kind of see what works and what doesn't work.
And what a good problem to have because of the lack of depth at times for Coach Davis in his era. Going back to the Iron Five in his first year, it's like you don't trust anybody. With this team, man, there are positional competitions everywhere, Coach, where they've got to figure out who's it going to be. And so I love the fact that it's like could be Jonathan Powell, could be Luca Bogavots. We've been assuming it's going to be Luca, but we don't know until things actually start. Now, here's the other thing, Coach. That first quote I read, quote, expected to be finalized very soon. I didn't specify in there what that final decision will be. Sherelle McMillan goes on to say, quote, all indications from these sources are that Bogavots will indeed be cleared to play by the NCAA. Coach, this is great news. Now, one of the things that became more official last week is that Bogavots will not come in as a freshman as initially put on Carolina's roster. However, as you've been saying since the end of May, the hope by the staff is that the plan, I guess not hope, because hope you'd love to have him 4 years, but the staff has been planning that he will be classified as a junior and have 2 years of eligibility. So, Coach, how do you factor all that part of it in?
Yeah, that's been the anticipation all along, is that he would come in as a junior. He's got the experience of a junior. He's got, the track rec of being able to do all that stuff as a professional. So I think that's probably fair. I think there's still a chance, maybe a really small chance, he may only have 1 year. And staff has thought about that as well. So
Yeah.
I think we're all very confident it is going to be a yes. I'm not as confident it's going to be 2 years, but I think that's the way it's going to go too. But you have to prepare as if he's a one and done, regardless. Whether it's one and done to a league or one and done to another program, the world's changed now. And I think the focus has got to be, let's focus on the here and now. Let's focus on today's practice. Let's focus on our next opponent. And we really can't be thinking too much down the road. Now, we hope we have him for 2 more years, or 2 years total, but you just never know exactly what's going on. So that's the way the world has changed, and the fact that you're not thinking 3 or 4 years down the road. You're just thinking about right now.
That's a great point, Coach. Yeah, like for us, we're obviously going to speculate about out beyond 25, 26, but for Coach Davis and the staff, it's like 1 year at a time. That's all you can do in the NIL portal era, is look at the right now of it. And that's what this team is clearly doing. Part of the hope, and I mentioned this just in passing earlier on the show, Kentucky got one of their international guys cleared earlier this week. And so, right, we're continuing to see movement from the NCAA on clearing some of these international players, which is still so weird and wild that that's where we're at. These people that have played professionally. There's a guy that got cleared, I believe it was for Santa Clara a week or 2 ago, that had been at overtime, or excuse me, in the G League, and now he's playing. So there's all this. And so it's the obvious thing that should happen, but Coach, it's the NCAA. And so until it actually does, we hold our breath. So obviously when Luca's clearance is announced one way or the other, I'll go live, do an emergency podcast, whatever it needs to be. So we'll stand by for that. Now, Coach, the AP preseason top 25 poll is going to come out next week. Carolina is going to be in it for the 20th straight season in a row, right? We'll look at that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting on your projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts faster for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer right there. They also have a thing called the Part Finder tool and 3D schematics that can save you hours on jobs when every detail matters. And they have Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support, which make the whole process smoother. So join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. Again, that's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets. That's right. Pick a bet. Put down $5, and if it hits, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. And when you use FanDuel, whether it's parlays, player props, even jumping in on the action live, it makes watching football even more exciting since you got a little something riding on it. So whether you're a casual fan or maybe you're a dork like me and you love diving into the stats of it, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. How about some ACC regular season championship odds? Unfortunately, Duke leads the way at plus 155, followed by Louisville at plus 220, and then the Tar Heels plus 700, then NC State at 750, Clemson at 1900, and Virginia with their brand new coach at plus 2200. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app and get started today. All right, right back into it here on Locked On Tar Heels. Coach, based on the usual schedule, the preseason AP Top 25 poll should come out next Monday. We're waiting for that. Coach, here's the crazy thing. For 20 straight seasons, Carolina has been ranked in it. And not just in it, but in the top 20 for each one of those seasons. So, Coach, here's my question to you. Not yet, what do you want to happen, or what is your take on it, but what do you think will actually happen? Will Carolina be ranked in the preseason AP Top 25, or will that streak end?
I think the streak will continue, but I think it'll be very close. I think they'll be ranked somewhere between 20, 25, probably 23 to 25, somewhere in that at the very end of. I would be surprised if they're not ranked at all, but I would be shocked if they're in the top 20.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. Like, I've seen some people like John Rothstein, I believe, has the Tar Heels 27th in his preseason rankings, but most places have them in that, just like you said, 23, 24, 25 range. So the 2-decade streak matching up with the time you've been at Carolina basketball school, oh, by the way, seems like that's going to come to an end. But I'm with you. I think Carolina falls in that last 5 in the poll somewhere. Now, Coach, now I want to ask you about your opinion. Is this a top 25 basketball team? You've been watching this sport your whole life. You've been coaching it and playing it. When you look at the pieces of this roster, the way they fit together and all of that, is this top 25 material?
Yeah, I think they are. And from a coach's perspective, they don't care. At least they'll say that they don't care.
Sure.
But they do, and they care because it does help. You can use a line like that and it helps with recruiting. Say, 20 years we've been in the preseason, and again, it's how you end. It's not how you start. But they are, and I think they have the talent for it. I think they'll play that way. They've got the leadership in Seth. I think that they have the pieces, the talent with what they brought in to be a top 25 team. I still think they could be a top 15 team. I think they could be a Sweet 16, tournament type team and get to the second round, second weekend of the tournament. So, but there's so much talent out there right now. There's so many things going on. There's so much money being spent, and the expectations for everybody are way higher than they've ever been. So I think the urgency, and we talk about urgency a lot on this show. We talk about urgency a lot in practice. Playing with that sense of urgency was a staple of Coach Williams. But I think the urgency is different all around the country because now that the money has gotten so big that there's a lot more pressure for people to feel like they need to be good now, immediately. There's no time to wait.
And especially in a year where a lot of people think it's a decisive year for Coach Davis in terms of how things will turn out. We got to hear that from Bubba before we take it to the bank. But I mean, there's legitimacy to that. And Coach, I'll reference back to the show we're about to record. We're going to have a conversation on it about preseason rankings and how much more difficult they are now than ever because of the transfer portal, because of NIL, and because of all the player movement all over the country. It's nearly impossible to know what a team is. We're just all doing our best to be like, well, that dude was really good at Texas Tech, and now he's at NC State, so he should be good again. Like, that's the exercise we're all trying to get into, and that makes it wildly difficult to figure all this out. Coach, you said, you think at, kind of a top 15 sort of situation. I put a poll out on YouTube a week or two ago asking, where would you rank Carolina preseason? Coach, the options were 1 through 10, 11 through 20, or 21 through 25, or in others receiving votes /unranked. Coach, as I got the stats just a little bit ago, 471 votes in that poll. So good sample size. 10% said 1 to 10, 11 said others receiving votes unranked, 34% said 21 to 25, and the big winner was 45%, 11 to 20. Coach, look, I know the ceiling could be higher, the floor, who knows, but is that what you would have voted as well, 11 to 20?
I think I voted, if I'm not mistaken. I think I actually did get on and vote. I try to follow you as much as possible. I think I voted 21 to 25. I think I was in a little bit of the minority there, but I think that's where I see ourselves now. Where I see ourselves at the end, it would have been more in that 10 to whatever, 11 to
11 to
20.
20.
I think
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where I see us finishing. I'd love to say we're a national championship team, and weirder stuff has happened. So I'm not saying that they can't. I'm just saying that, listen, we're in a situation the same way. We've got 11 new players and only 2 that really played in the rotation last year. You have no idea what you have even the first month. I think, practice 16 today, and you're still sitting there trying to figure out what do we have and where do the pieces go. But they get all summer to do that, and they're still in the same. It takes a lot of time, and we really don't know. You can spend a year with a player before you really, really know what they're good at, what they're not good at, where they like to get to the ball. Do they want to come off a screen left, right? Do they want to be on the left block? You can spend time talking with all these kids, but you have to still be able to experience the time that you put in practice and in workouts to really figure out what makes this kid tick and where are they best suited, strength and weakness wise.
It's such a good point that you make, Coach, about who do you think they are now versus who do you think they will be come March? Because part of this, if we looked at the roster ahead of the 2021-22 season, I don't think we would have said this is a team that's going to end Coach K's career twice. I don't think we would have said, hey, this is a team that's going to be up 15 at halftime of the national championship game and come within a rebound or a warped board on the floor away from twisting Armando Bacot's ankle and from a national championship, right? Like, and so it's, to your point, it's so wildly difficult to predict any of that, but still the fun endeavor. And that's why we're all here to do it. Coach, any other thoughts on this, about like, we're going to look at the schedule more here in a second, but outside of the Kansas game, the first Friday of the season, it's going to be a while before we get a really good feel for who Carolina is, because outside of that, it's Central Arkansas, Radford, NC Central, Navy, St. Bonaventure before you get to Michigan State at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Thanksgiving Day. And that's probably a great thing though for this team that's trying to figure themselves out as they work towards figuring out what's that ceiling.
Yeah, being in the lobby after the 2017 national championship team with Hubert, and his first words to me was, "This team." Because I think even they were shocked. They were shocked with the talent, but again, they played so well together as a group, and that's what it takes to win. It's not so much you have to have talent. Obviously, you have to have size and all that, but you still have to be able to play together. And I think my opinion about this team right now would be different if Luka was there in June. If he was there at the beginning of the workouts, I think I would be more of a 10 to 11 to 20 guy if he had been there the whole summer and spent all that time together. He does look better than when I went to practice. He looks much more comfortable. We talked about that as a staff. Just he looks so much different than he did, a week or a month before. But I think that's a big part of it for me is that you just haven't had the whole group there. So how do they learn to play together?
Yeah. And that's such a good point. I mean, because with Luka, it's not about a lack of talent. It's about the time to get into the system and figure out that and your teammates and all of it. But that's a great point about what Coach said to you after the 2017 national championship, in stark contrast to the 2009 championship, when it's like, it's a letdown if they didn't win that thing, right?
They just kicked everybody. Just kicked everybody. And you knew that they were going to kick everybody.
Right, exactly. And until UConn did it back-to-back times, they had the most dominant NCAA tournament run in history in the modern era. And so that's where we're sitting and looking out now. Okay, Coach, Carolina announced on Tuesday while they were at ACC tip-off the vast majority of the rest of the TV schedule and game times. Good news, Coach. Not too many 9 p.m. tips in this one. We'll look at that and other takeaways from the schedule in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda, who crafts cars for those who do more than simply move, Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, but Mazda brings that same level of intentionality to how they craft every model. You can feel that incredible Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Nappa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season, because with Mazda, everyday drives, they feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls and more. And like the Tar Heel basketball players, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is also brought to you by Quo. One of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name, and here's why it matters. Every call you miss is money left on the table. And when every customer conversation counts, you need a new phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. And Quo is the #1 business phone system to do that. It streamlines customer communications, works right through an app on your phone or computer. So no more having to carry around 2 phones, relying on a landline, whatever it is. They've got this built-in AI agent that's a game changer. It can answer after-hours calls, it can capture leads, and keep businesses moving even when you're off the clock. So see why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's quo.com/lockedoncollege. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, Quo is going to port them over for you at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. As is the way things go now, we get little bits and pieces of the schedule unfolding over the course of a couple months throughout the offseason, and now it's just about every detail locked in, Coach. On Tuesday, Carolina released the vast majority of the TV channels and tip times for the games. Coach, I've got several takeaways, but I just want to ask if there was anything initially that stood out to you as you look at the schedule.
Yeah, the big thing for me is that Kansas game is at 7, so I might actually get home that night. That was the very first thing I looked at, and we don't play the next day, but we have a JV game and some recruits on campus, so I'll have to get home quickly. But I am glad it's not a 9 o'clock game. Just don't want to have to go back to. But I actually like 9 o'clock games because we play so many nights the same day that Carolina plays. If they do play at night at 9 at night, I get a chance to maybe get home and get to see second half. So I really don't mind the 9 o'clock games as much as everybody else does.
Yeah, that's great. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I've actually pulled up the schedule with all those tip times. Yeah, let's go ahead and mention the other 9 o'clock tips. Coach, the latest one, good grief. The game at Kentucky for the ACC SEC Challenge is going to be a epic battle in Rupp Arena, is scheduled for a 9:30 p.m. Eastern tip. Coach, what does that time of night even look like? I don't know. Actually, I do because I stay up at all hours, but most people, whatever. Here's the other thing, Coach. Duke tips off at 7:30 Eastern that night, and that ain't only going 2 hours, so they're going to push the tip time. This thing probably won't start till 9:45, Coach. What are we doing?
Yeah. You don't sleep anyway, so let's be honest. With all the stuff you have going on, it doesn't really. It's just another. You're like a college student. It's just another hour of the day.
It is, man. I've got problems, Coach. I don't know. So the other 9 o'clock tips: the BYU exhibition in a couple weeks is going to be at 9 o'clock. The NC Central game on Friday, November 14th, is also at 9. And then the other one is when Carolina travels out to the West Coast to play Stanford and Cal, Wednesday, January 14th, also at 9 o'clock. Coach, on this schedule, for those watching, you can see that the BYU exhibition shows TBA in terms of the TV, but I can go ahead and tell you that's actually going to stream on ESPN Plus. I have tweeted out the link of that, so if you're looking for that, it's there. And the Winston-Salem State exhibition will be on GoHeels.com, Coach. So just want to share that news as well. Coach, any other takeaways or things that stand out to you before I mention a few others?
No, I think it does show the lack of 9 o'clock games. I think TV is saying that, hey, this is important. They need to play that primetime slot. So I do think that's a positive in my mind.
Yeah.
I also hope that my hotel on the 24th has ESPN Plus, because that's the night we open up, and I want to be able to see that BYU exhibition. Man. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Thankfully, speaking of late tip times, I was really worried about what time the games in California were going to tip against Cal and Stanford. And thankfully, neither of those are crazy late. Like Duke played Cal in football last week, and it tipped off at like 10:30 Eastern, I think it was, Coach. That got me petrified. But we already said the Stanford game will be 9 p.m. Eastern. And then on Saturday, January 17th, the game at Cal will tip off at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 local time in California. So that is a big win, Coach. There are still 2 games that are TBA in terms of TV, and that's Saturday, January 24th at Virginia, and February 28th against Virginia Tech. So I don't know what's going on in that state, but whatever it is. Coach, here's something else I noticed that just reminds you how important the Tar Heel brand is. Carolina has a game on Fox. That's the Thanksgiving Day game against Michigan State in the Fort Myers tip-off, a game on CBS, and a game on ABC. That's the game up at Syracuse. And so, Coach, I mean, it's just a reminder that in this day and age when everything's only on streaming or ESPN or ACC network, Carolina's brand is still massive and on all the main major networks.
Yeah, and that's big for recruits. Obviously, when you're selling your program, you got to sell the fact that they're going to get seen and get seen by everybody. And it doesn't matter if it's a West Coast executive or an East Coast NBA executive. They want to be able to tell these kids they're going to be seen by everybody every game. And even at our level, we're still streaming games, but it's different when it's on a major national network that people are just can stumble upon too. So I think it's an awesome sign for the program. It is a big year. We all know that. I think everybody feels that. But it's also great to see that they're giving our guys all the opportunity they can to be seen and play well.
And I didn't mention which game is on CBS, but obviously it's the CBS Sports Classic. Carolina playing Ohio State this year. While the other game, UCLA opted out this year. The other game is Kentucky at St. John's. That's going to be electric with Rick Pitino against his former player there. And so really looking forward to that. Coach, I guess the other thing we should say is the Duke game. Both of them have always been at like odd times on a Saturday night. Usually everything's like on the full hour. Both Duke games are on Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Just going to show how much ESPN still values having that Duke Carolina rivalry game at just the perfect prime time every year. My ask is, can we please move the national championship to that point instead of 9:20 p.m. Eastern or whatever it is that we usually get that crazy thing?
Yeah, I agree. Of course, that Atlanta CBS Classic, that's Tamba, my former player, is going to be
that's right
playing in that as well. And we got word for him today, texting with him at lunchtime, that he was actually on the bus headed to Madison Square Garden for his first practice in Madison Square Garden. So from Steve Lacy Fieldhouse this time last year to practicing in Madison Square Garden, it's a pretty cool thing for me, and I'm very proud of him.
That's incredible stuff for Hunt. I didn't even think about that angle. Are you going down to Atlanta for that for the CBS Sports?
Trying to. Yeah, we're trying to. We played the 16th, 15th, 16th in Ohio, and then come back, and then possibility we're still working on an extra game back in Ohio on the 22nd. So it would be a little bit of a yo-yo travel for that stretch, but no classes makes it a little bit easier. But sure. I really do want to get down there. I want to see him. He's we try to talk every once in a while, but he's doing great. So I'm just excited for him, and what a great opportunity for a young man like that.
That's so cool, Coach, man. Absolutely love to see it. Here's the other thing. I think I texted you about this, or maybe I mentioned it on the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. So I upset some NC State fans on Tuesday of this week, Coach. Oh, no. But yeah, right. By simply saying that North Carolina's front court was taller. I made I wasn't talking about them being good or bad. Hey, this is a stark contrast to last year. Literally all I said, and they're all up in arms about it, posting my picture all over Twitter. It's insane. But Coach, my favorite comment was somebody saying that I should just give up covering North Carolina and cover Milligan basketball full time as my job. So, Coach, I'm in. I'm ready. I'm locked in to do that. So there we go. I'm going to be your guy.
We'll save you a seat on the bus. You can sit up front with the coaches when we hang out.
I love it, man. I can't wait. Sign me. Seriously, I do need to come on a road trip with you guys to a game sometime. That'd be so fun.
Hey, it's funny you say that. We my buddy Will Little, who's a major league umpire, he's going to be doing home plate for the Cubs game tonight, which is Wednesday night when we're taping this. But he asked me when his boys were real little and they weren't really as needing as him home. He said, "Do you mind if I take a road trip with you guys?" We're like, "Absolutely." So he's hopped on the bus with us a couple of times, once to UNC Asheville, and then he actually came to the JV game with us down to Carolina one year, and just to sit on the bus for a couple hours and listen to a major league umpire tell stories about what it's like at that life is pretty cool. Wouldn't be quite the same with you, but I think you have a lot of stories to give too. So that's what those road trips are for, just hanging out and talking and telling stories and developing those relationships.
I am, in fact, not a major league umpire. I did umpire little league games when I was in high school, but nowhere near Will, my classmate at Milligan College before it was Milligan University. Great dude, and man, just so cool what he gets to do. Congrats to him on that. Obviously, as you're watching or listening to this, you already know what happened to the Cubbies yesterday, but fun stuff. You guys, great show today. If you haven't already bought Coach's book, Carolina Basketball School, make sure you do that now on Amazon, or you can go to Alumni Hall there in Chapel Hill. Another reminder, Coach is going to be there ahead of the Kansas game signing, and you can buy books then. Really, really cool stuff. If you haven't subscribed to the show on YouTube and on audio, do it right now so you don't miss a single second. If you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, that link is in the show notes. A great opportunity opportunity to hop on board and dive deeper. And if you want to go even deeper, Locked On Tar Heels insiders, man, you get direct contact to me. You get free access to all of my stats and charts and data and record books. Really, really cool stuff and other perks as well. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, but until then, peace.